It's Trump Derangement Syndrome versus the coronavirus as the Trump administration takes action against the spread of the outbreak, while the Democrats use the virus as their latest attack against the president. Plus, you won't believe the percentage of Democrats who would actually vote for a socialist for president of the United States. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. I hope you've had a great week. Mine's been busy. It has been nonstop. We've got elections on Tuesday, so I've been out campaigning in addition to researching and going over the show and being sharp on the issues. There is so much going on right now, but the dominant story, the thing that's taking up all the headlines, is the coronavirus. And the Democrats are out on the attack once again. Wednesday, President Trump gave a press conference where he announced that Vice President Mike Pence would be leading the response team, the response efforts to the coronavirus. Now, that was the announcement. President Trump's been working on this for close to 2 months, a response and actions to containing this outbreak. So it's not any worse than possible for the United States. And right now, it's minimal what's going on. So yesterday, Vice President Mike Pence talked with Sean Hannity. They were both at CPAC in Washington, D.C., had an interview, and here is part of what the vice president had to say.
We continue to prepare for whatever may come, but the reality is that because of the actions that President Trump took last month, literally, ending travel, closing our borders to people coming in from China, establishing a quarantine process, setting up a task force. I mean, if the president hadn't taken those unprecedented steps,
they didn't seem to like it then.
We'd be in a very different place today, Sean.
So that's what's been done so far. But then Hannity asked about the Democrats and their actions and putting politics into the mix.
You mentioned Pelosi and Schumer. Both have been critical of the president on this and about the money, and it's shameful. I don't think they supported closing off people coming into the country from some of these countries.
So we see right there, it's like Trump Derangement Syndrome. The spread of that is far worse than the spread of coronavirus right now because it has affected everyone on the left to such an extreme, and the vice president addressed the politics and the Democrats with his response.
When we first received word of the outbreak of the coronavirus, shortly after the first of the year, the health team came in. I was there in the Oval Office, and they said to the president, look, what we ought to do is we ought to end air travel. We ought to close our border, and we ought to establish a quarantining process for any American citizens that we allow back in. And they said, no president has ever done this before, but we're recommending out of an abundance of caution that you do it. And President Trump didn't hesitate for 1 second. He said, do it. And it was criticized by some at the time.
So again, that's what the Trump administration is doing. That's what they've been working on for 6, 7, 8 weeks. And it's a step-by-step approach using the resources we have available, using the experts that are at America's disposal, the best of the best, to address this situation. But even so, the Democrats can't help it. It's Trump Derangement Syndrome in full outbreak right now. And they are just going at it. There's nothing the president can do that they won't attack. Here's Chuck Schumer.
It is clear this administration is in total disarray when it comes to the crisis of the coronavirus.
And of course, we have Nancy Pelosi on the House side.
I said that the American people need a coordinated, whole-of-government, fully funded response to keep us safe from the coronavirus threat. Unfortunately, and this is the purpose of my telling this, unfortunately, up until now, the Trump administration has mounted an opaque and often chaotic response to this outbreak.
All right, so Schumer says the administration is in disarray. Pelosi says the response has been chaotic. It's actually been very upfront. They were ahead of the situation, and now they make this public statement. They have this response team with Pence at the head. Very good choice. He's been through this before. All you have to do is watch the Hannity interview to show the experience that Vice President Mike Pence has in a leadership role in dealing with outbreaks, plus the experts, the actual medical experts, Centers of Disease Control, National Institutes of Health, all at the disposal of the government to handle this situation. But that doesn't stop them. The New York Times put out an opinion piece. Check out this. This is their headline. Let's call it Trump virus, with the subtitle, "If you're feeling awful, you know who to blame." Seriously? This is what the New York Times puts out? And of course, the Democrats running for president, they couldn't help but jump on the bandwagon. They're throwing out facts that are flat out wrong. And here's a report from Fox News. The Associated Press is calling out two leading Democratic presidential candidates for what the outlet says were inaccurate comments about the government's ability to address diseases like the coronavirus. Former Vice President Joe Biden and former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg were both wrong to say critical health agencies faced funding cuts. While discussing the coronavirus during Tuesday's debate, those candidates blamed President Trump for restricting resources for the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and the National Institutes of Health, NIH. So those claims are flat out wrong. We can get into the details in more depth on where they're saying cuts are being made and where they're not actually happening. But in a nutshell, it's the Associated Press right there fact-checking, saying that those claims are not accurate. So next, I want to talk about the Democrat presidential field, the politics that's going on, and the fear of some of what a Bernie Sanders nomination can do. Because it's serious out there. Here's the situation, okay? Republicans only need 18 changes, 18 flips in the House, a net gain of 18 to retake the House of Representatives, to put Republicans back in control. 18. There are 30 seats currently being held by Democrats in districts that went for President Trump in 2016. So there's a very fragile majority that the Democrats are holding on to. And with the way the economy is going, the way the president is addressing the border, the way the president is cutting taxes, cutting regulations, promoting conservative judges, on and on and on, it has the country moving in a right direction. It has the American public feeling great about the future, feeling great about the economic situation. And then all of a sudden comes the Democrats who want to nominate a socialist. What's that going to do for the chances down ballot? What's that going to do for Democrats that are in these Trump districts that are hoping to not only hold on to their seat, but contribute to the Democrats holding on to the House of Representatives, which is very much in play if the Democrats keep going down this path. So the Washington Times has an interesting report because they're looking at Virginia, which even though their state has a Democrat governor that I talk about all the time regarding these Second Amendment issues and his stances on all sorts of extreme policies, the fact that their legislature, their House of Delegates, and their Senate has Democrat majorities now, and they're passing all this gun legislation. The population in general, according to the Washington Times, tends to be a nice analysis point for the Democrats to see if a state like that will go for Bernie Sanders. And here's a report for the Washington Times. Representative Elaine Luria is the kind of up-and-comer the Democratic Party would like to keep in Congress. But the former Navy commander with a moderate bearing who flipped a coastal Virginia House seat in 2018 said she's afraid that will be far more difficult if her party nominates Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders for president. When I talk to people across our district, they are very pragmatic, middle of the road, said Luria, who has endorsed former Vice President Joe Biden. They don't want free anything for everyone or policy positions that are unrealistic. So that's her, and that's why it's going to be interesting to watch. Because like I mentioned, the leadership in Virginia is all Democrat. They hold all the statewide offices. I've talked about their governor, Ralph Northam, many times. Both their houses, their branches of the legislature, are now Democrat. Majorities there, and we've seen the legislation they're trying to push. We've seen the push back from Virginia residents, the counties with Second Amendment sanctuaries and things like that. So we see the balance there. So what does that do for Bernie Sanders? Are they ready to nominate Bernie Sanders for president? And here's more of the report. In the past, Virginians have tended to avoid political extremes. Hillary Clinton trounced Sanders in the state during the Democratic presidential primary 4 years ago. In 2017, former Congressman Tom Perillo won widespread attention, running for governor as an unapologetic liberal answer to Trump, and was endorsed by Sanders. He was soundly defeated in the Democratic primary by a low-key moderate, Ralph Northam, who we learn is not moderate, who easily won the general election. So in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, Sanders is up about 5.5% right now to Mike Bloomberg in the Virginia race. So we'll see how that goes come Tuesday and with the other races, the other elections that are coming. In the betting odds, right now, the Vegas betting odds, the average of those betting places, puts Sanders at a 52% favorite to win the nomination. Biden is actually second at around 25%. So betting odds has Bernie in a huge position compared to the other Democrats in the field to eventually take the nomination. And you can bet after next Tuesday, we'll see if he stacks up the wins, how the Democrats are going to be freaking out. They've got options with super delegates to try and derail the nomination, but we'll see how it goes. But here's the problem, and this leads to the last thing I want to bring up today, is there is a new poll out by Gallup that has stunning results, just stunning, on the favorability of the Democrats for a socialist president, the willingness of them to vote for a socialist for president. It's a huge majority, and when I saw the number, you have to weep for the direction of our country when you have people so far left that America, built on this free enterprise system and this spirit of individualism and ownership and having individual success and keeping government out of our business as much as possible, that they would support a socialist. It's just unbelievable. And here's a report from Fox News. As the Democratic primary field lurches to the left on a number of policy issues, it's being reflected among Democratic voters, with 3 in 4 Democrats saying they would back a socialist for president, according to a new poll released this month. The Gallup poll found that 76% of Democrat voters would vote for a socialist. Only 17% of Republicans say they would vote for a socialist, which is weird in itself, and 45% of independents said they would vote for one. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable that we have those statistics. Now, for me, even the 17% is a little strange. I mean, if 17% of Republicans would vote for a socialist, you got to wonder why those folks call themselves Republicans anyway. Why are they voting Republican if they would support a socialist? And then 45% of independents. And what that shows, it just shows how much this infiltration of the left into all aspects of our society has made a difference. They're in entertainment. They're in the media. They're in big tech. They're in government bureaucracy. On and on and on. Education. All of that has a result. All of that wears on people. It influences people to the point where 76% of Democrats would support a socialist for president. It's unbelievable, and yet that's the state of things. So, but by contrast, you have this portion of the Democrat establishment that want to win. They want to keep control of the House. They want to stay in power. And Bernie Sanders, for the majority of the people, the majority of Americans, 3/4 of Democrats may support a socialist, but America in general will not. They know he'll lose, and they're freaking out about it. So what's going to happen? Tuesday will show a big idea of the trend and where things go from there with Bernie Sanders, and we'll be following it. I'll keep up on it, and I'll let you know. But folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified, and we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is the 13-Minute News Hour. Okay, friends, just a little reminder before you go, and no, this does not count against my 13 minutes. Please hit the subscribe button below and tell your friends. And if you happen to miss our last show, you can check it out right here. And also for great conservative news and commentary, please check out GOPUSA.com. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.